Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Modern Metaphysics. Welcome to Inner Conquest, the greatest channel on YouTube. I'm so happy that you guys decided to tune in for today's video. So today's video is about impressing the world around you with thought and feeling. So when you think of thought and you think of feeling, they're two complementary places that you can put your energy. When you look at reality, right, you have to see reality from subtle to gross, which basically means subtle is kind of like if you have water, and then gross is if you have that water turned into ice. It's crystallized, because the more subtle something is, the more cool, even keel it is, and then as it gets more gross, it becomes more defined and solid. So when you are creating reality, what you can do is you can operate in the gross dimension, the third dimensional reality, which is essentially the things that have already crystallized, and you can break those things apart, you can move them around, you can restructure them. Totally viable way to operate. If you want to work from more of the source or the leverage standpoint, you put your emphasis and your strategy, which strategy is just simply your prioritization. So if you have a strategy, it's what do you focus on first, second, and third in that order. So if you're creating reality from the metaphysical standpoint, what you're doing is you're putting more emphasis on the thoughts and the emotions behind the gross reality and focusing on more subtle dimensions of reality. So if you think of, a car, say you want a car, right? You can go and you can work and you can bank pile the money, and then you can set a timeline of 6 months. Okay, and then I'm going to go buy this car. It'll work. Totally viable way to do it, right? The alternative, if you want to work from a fourth dimensional standpoint, would be instead of going down that linear trajectory, you would go straight to the end, meaning that, if you follow Neville Goddard, they call that the state of the wish fulfilled. What is a state, right? A state of wish fulfilled. A state, if you take it to, layman's terms, United States, there are 50 different states within the United States. A state is a defined area. So a defined area, a state, is also, if you have a gas, you can have a gas state, you can have a liquid state, you could have a, solid state. What is a state? A state is a defined area of defined frequency, meaning that if you're in a state of anger, I am identified with a state. You could perceive it as a mood and attitude or like a cloud of emotion around you that is in harmonious frequency with what we would call anger, which if you looked on an emotional scale would be towards the lower end of the spectrum, right? So when you have a state of wish fulfilled, and you want to embody that now, what you're doing is essentially foregoing that linear type of pursuit to get the car, and you're embodying the state of a wish fulfilled, which is the version of you that has it right now. Now, the reason that you do that is because when you embody the state of the version of you that has it now, what you're doing is you're aligning those subtle energies. So we talked about working on the most leveraged part of reality that you can, if you're going to do it the metaphysical way. It's not the only way you can do things, right? But if you do it the metaphysical way, what you're doing is you're aligning yourself from the most leveraged point to the version of you that already has it now. Now, why would you do that? Well, because everything that is subtle, when focused upon, will crystallize and become gross. So the more that I can build an energetic, you could call it a fourth dimensional reality. The difference between a third dimensional reality is the third dimensional reality is crystallized. The fourth dimensional reality is in your mindscape. So if I pull up a mental image of my childhood home, that's a fourth dimensional reality. See how fast that happened? Fourth dimensional realities are instantaneous, they're fast, and they're non-gross, meaning that they are subtle in their nature. But the process of everything that was created around us started with a fourth dimensional reality that was focused upon and given enough emotion, time, and consideration so that it developed into a gross, more crystallized state. So when you have that thought process, I want this car, okay, well, let's go to the end. I am the person who has this car. And then you can ask yourself, what are the feeling states, defined parameters of frequency of the individual who has this car now? Well, I feel like it's in my driveway. Well, I can feel the car keys in my hand. Well, I feel myself driving it, right? And you start to loop those different states in wake of the state of, oh man, I really want this car, so I need to go do it, right? Because as you are going through the process of getting the car throughout the linear way, if you don't pay attention to your state, you may get that car, but then because your frequency and your state is one of wanting, you'll get tired of it and now you want a new car, right? Not to say that we shouldn't have all the cars, but the thing is that if you can calibrate your state to a person who has it, now you can have this car, you can have this car, you can have this car, and you can have them all without that incessant void that you need to fill, when in actuality, it's an energetic void that you're trying to fill. It's not necessarily the car that you want, it's the resonance of that frequency patching in your internal fourth dimensional beingness that you're carrying with you chronically that you want to solve. So when you do this work, it really makes you more solid, right? Now, what happens is when you shift your internal fourth dimensional state to having something, you've chronically had a state of not having it. So everything that is external to you is crystallized in the state of you not having it, right? So when we look at the Bible or we look at Neville Goddard's Wish Fulfilled, the most important points that they harp on are faith and persistence. Because when you have faith and when you have persistence, what that gives you are some tools to work with when the third dimensional reality external to you has crystallized in a way that is unfavorable, to maintain that internal conviction inside of you of that fourth dimensional reality, which allows you to give it the time, attention, emotional conviction that it needs to crystallize and become your new reality. The only thing that can really stop you is the third dimensional reality will bind you to it with unwanted emotions, right? Or wanted emotions. So if you have a house that you really love, right? And you want to get your new house, well, sometimes it's hard to leave because you love the house that you're in, even though if you wanted to, tomorrow you could go and be in that new house. Or you want to have this thing, but you really like where you're at, or you feel bad that, others don't have it or something like that. So those are token signs of states that have bound themselves to you, and 99% of the time it's just unconsciously. So you want to take yourself out of it, and you want to give yourself a bit of observership over emotions and thoughts that you have of your current reality, and realize that most of those weren't consciously chosen by you. They were just kind of impressed upon you, right? Not saying that you're a victim or anything, but until you're about 7 to 8 years old, you don't really have any decision-making faculty. So you just get impressed by everything. So the good news is once you understand this stuff, you can start to calibrate yourself in a way to where now you get to choose the impressions upon which your world is formed from a thinking and a feeling perspective. So the goal is always to see where you're at, pick what you want, become the version of you who has it now, and dominantly dwell in those feeling and thinking states of having it now. This is where you will break your linear type of time thought trajectory. And don't get me wrong, time is great. Like, think about how fucking annoying it would be if we didn't have clocks and shit. Like, time is great, but you just want it to be a tool. You never want to be a slave to any of these things. So when you decide who you want to be, you go into the state, the identity, the I amness of the version of you who has that, and you persist in that. You have faith, which faith defined is loyalty to an unseen reality. So loyalty to a fourth dimensional reality, meaning that if you go out in your driveway and you don't see the car, you have to be loyal to the version of yourself who already has it. Now that's going to make you think you're fucking crazy in the beginning, because what the fuck? I don't have my car. How can I be the version of myself who has it? Well, that's where faith, loyalty to the unseen reality, because that's the left side of your brain trying to attack you with logic and try to sell you on the fact that everything that you've created and crystallized in the third dimensional reality is permanent when you fucking created it through your thoughts, emotions, and feelings. So that's where you have to be like, look, dude, relax, okay? This is a process of creation. I know I'm new at this. I know it's a different style of thinking and being, but what does every single person say about this process? You just gotta persist. And then what happens is after you start to calibrate those thoughts and emotions, not only will that be your highest achievement in life, because all you are is an awareness coupled with thoughts and emotions. So think about this, knowing your awareness and also having complete and total utter mastery over your thoughts and your emotions, complete and total utter mastery over your fourth dimensional reality, allows you to really control a realm, right? So when you control a fourth dimensional reality, you control your thoughts, you control your imaginations, you control your emotions. You are training to control reality, because how can you control a big reality if you can't control your own personal individualized reality? So when you go through this process of controlling your internal state, controlling your internal reality, continually denying things that are unwanted and realigning to things that are wanted, what you're doing is you're developing mastery. And as you develop mastery, you become more proficient. Every single time you catch yourself in an unwanted feeling state and you shift with an affirmation, or you shift with a feeling state to a wanted state, you're adding experience points like a video game to your mastery level of, whether you want to call it metaphysics, you want to call it a law of assumption, whether you want to call it law of attraction. All those things are great. I think they all work complementary and harmony with one another. And you're mastering this internal realm so much to the extent that now you become competent at it. The worst thing you can be is unconsciously competent, because you are creating your reality, but you don't know how you're doing it, right? So you can't get repeatable, replicable results, and it's fucking maddening. So when you have this control and you can start to link the way you're thinking and feeling to the external creations that you're creating, now you're getting this harmonious dance back and forth with positive feedback loops with your reality, and you're starting to really understand how it is you can bring things into creation just by using your own mind. And once you get to that point, the game gets really, really fun. So you just have to persist, control your thoughts, control your emotions, continually deny unwanted circumstance, and reorient to fourth dimensional realities of you being the version of you who have what they want and are who they want to be. Remember, that's a feeling state. It's very different to want something versus to have it. And as soon as you go into that feeling state of having it, it will feel foreign because it's an unfamiliar emotion. Emotions and chronic states are much like clothes, meaning that if I wear a tuxedo and I've been in dish rags my entire life, I'm going to think that everybody knows that I'm a fraud in my tuxedo, because my internal state is telling me I'm a dude who wore dish rags. Nobody cares. That's your internal perception of yourself, an internal chronic state trying to tell you who you are. And what you have to do is you have to say who you are and not let anything tell you who you are other than who you're choosing to be in the moment. No, I'm this. That's great. Perfect unfolding. Appreciate that. If that didn't happen, I couldn't have what I have now. I am this. I have this. I am the person who is this. I have this. Oh my God, they texted me, said they don't like me. Oh my God, that's crazy. That's the perfect unfolding. I'm the person that they love. You continually reaffirm and build and cultivate that wanted frequency until it's so strong that something happens externally and it doesn't faze you. That's the first thing you'll see, is that when these things that used to come up and scare you, they can't touch you anymore because your frequency is more powerful. The next things you'll see are these little scumbag manifestations that are like halfway piss pot points, and it'll try to get you to jump off the train and be like, hey, look, dude, you got a text. You're back together. No, motherfucker. I said that I am with this person, right? No, that's great. Perfect unfolding. I'll take a text. But this is how it is. And you have to remain in that conviction, right? All of these different things will try and throw you off your game, but you have to continually reaffirm and say who you are 24/7, 365. And what'll happen is you'll break that horse of your mind that tries to contradict you, and you'll turn that horse into a beautiful stallion that will take you on a trip straight to Camelot every single time, and it will fight on your behalf all of the different things that would try to dissuade you from the world telling you that you're not your ideal. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Check out the link for coaching if you guys want it. Drop in the comments any notes that you have or recommendations for future videos. And other than that, keep conquering.